Hello, and I hope you'll excuse the informal appearance today, as I, like many of you, I'm sure, are digging out from last night's snowstorm. And in the wake of the more devastating storm that we were hit with yesterday, the plea deals that we've all been discussing, I felt it was appropriate to take a few minutes, though, today and pass along something that I wrote last year regarding the conspiracy of silence, the real conspiracy of silence, not the one that Louis Freeh talked about. I was inspired to write this last year in response to some comments from some of our A9 regarding what they knew but couldn't talk about. That same old song and dance we've been hearing from the A9 for years now. At that time, it was about the support for Ira Luber. I think this is an important topic, not the Ira Luber vote, but this, in a broader sense, this conspiracy of silence. Not that we can unwind the tragedy of yesterday, March 13th, 2017, but because this is far from the first time that we've been devastated by this same conspiracy of silence nonsense. And it won't be the last time, not unless and until we wake the hell up and start to be honest with ourselves and stop buying into the BS and start to demand better. I'll just read what I wrote last year, and perhaps I'll post the text underneath this post. Given the audience that I wrote this for last year, some of the language might be a bit colorful. I'll make sure to clean that up to at least a PG level so as not to cause a problem or to offend anyone here. I'll begin. Here we go again. For 5 years, we've been living like Bill Murray in Groundhog Day. From the day in November of 2011 when the grand jury presentment tore apart our world, and Mike McQueary, and Tim Curley, and Gary Schultz, and Graham Spanier had every opportunity to stand up and say, "This is BS. Here is what happened. Here is what I did. And this is why I did it." To say, anyone who thinks I'm willingly abetted user is crazy. But for 5 years, on advice of counsel, they sit mute, as our world is firebombed. And how appropriate is this to remember now that we've seen what happened yesterday? We'll continue. Take a stroll through the cell blocks of Rockview. For those of you who don't know, Rockview is a federal prison here in the State College area. Take a stroll through the cell blocks of Rockview, and you know what you will see? Hundreds of folks locked up who did exactly what they were advised by counsel to do. How appropriate is this? You know what you won't see? You won't see their counsel. Those folks ain't in there serving their time with them. Those folks, the counsel, haven't volunteered their reputation to serve as a transplant for the ones that were destroyed. Nothing but silence for 5 years. And it's the media's fault for not reporting the truth? Seriously? And how often do we blame the media for not reporting the truth that we refuse to speak? Continue. And we are going to blame everyone else when everything goes to crap. When we all heard that the Freeh investigators coerced, twisted, and extorted their interviewees, all those folks at Penn State who were supposedly wronged. And to date, 5 years later, how many of them have stood up to be counted, have stood up to say, this is what they, the Freeh folks, did? None for 5 years. And it's the media's fault for not reporting the truth? Everyone involved in this entire ordeal, everyone, plays the I know something, but I ain't gonna tell game. And it's the media's fault for not reporting the truth? And now, here comes the parade. Remember, this was written last year at the time of the Luber vote. And now, here comes the parade. Members of the A9 with their, we know something you don't know, but we ain't gonna tell you. Or better yet, we are not allowed to tell you. Seriously? Give me a damn break. We get sold down the river again and again and again. And then we are sold the old song and dance of, you don't know what we know. And pitifully, 90% of us buy into it hook, line, and sinker. Instead of saying, hey, A9, do your damn job. Fulfill your fiduciary duties, one of the most sacred and critical of which is honest, open, and transparent communication with those folks who elected you to represent us, or step the hell aside. Silence for 5 years. A conspiracy of silence. And it's the media's fault that we are being screwed over time and again? Again, given what happened yesterday, we see the outcome of this conspiracy of silence. We see what happens when folks refuse to stand up and speak the truth as they know it. We all know that the challenges and the obstacles faced by Tim Curley and Gary Schultz. But for 5 years, they stood silent and now said, I'm guilty. And now forever, they will be tagged. And to a lesser degree, we will be tagged, to some degree or another, as enablers, as abettors of child sexual assault. And there is nothing now that they or we can do about it. What we can do is make it stop. Make the conspiracy of silence stop by demanding better, by not buying the bullshit, by not allowing ourselves to be led down the garden path, to be sold down the river time and time and time again, and buying the we know something you don't know, but we're not going to tell you about it excuse. We need to, if we are going to avoid these situations in the future, we need to demand better, and it's up to us. Thank you for taking a few minutes to listen. I think it's an appropriate topic today. I think it's something that needs to be said, and more importantly, something that we need to understand and decide if we're going to act on. If we are going to stop buying this bullshit, excuse my language, if we're going to stop buying this baloney and allowing ourselves to be sold down the river. That's our decision to make. So far, we haven't stood up. We haven't fought this conspiracy of silence, the real one, the damaging one. Anyway, thank you again for your time. I hope this will have a positive impact. Thank you.